Hey campers, and happy first week of Sea Camp Connection. This week is all about sharks, and we're so excited because we love sharks. But let's first talk about what a shark is. Now, a shark is a fish, but it's a very specific type of fish called a cartilaginous fish. So in our oceans, we have a ton of different fish species all in it. We have the ones from Finding Nemo, and we have sharks, and we have stingrays, and we have all these beautiful fish. Now there are two different types of fish in the world. We have bony fish, all right, and we have a cartilaginous fish. So let's first talk about what a bony fish is. So a bony fish is a fish that has bones in their skeleton. Think about our skeleton. We have our skin, and underneath we have our bones, and what allows us to jump and move and be able to live our lives happy and healthy, right? So we have our bones. Now, everyone, what I want you to do is I want you to try to bend your arm in half right at the bone. I can't do it. Our bones are really strong. They're really built to hold our skeleton upright and give us that strength. So fish in the ocean, bony fish, we call it osteichthyes. In Latin, osteo means bone. Ichthyes means fish. So we put them together and it's osteichthyes. Sharks are what we call chondrichthyes. So everyone say with me, chondrichthyes. Con means cartilage. Ichthyes means fish. So in our fish like Finding Nemo, our clownfish, they have bones all in their skeleton. It allows them to move. With sharks, they have cartilage in their skeleton. It's pretty crazy. I want everyone to move their nose back and forth, just like this. Now I want you to wiggle your ears. Now I want you to do the robot. Mad dancing skills, right? So in your body, you have cartilage in different places, like your nose, your ears, and your joints. And it allows you to move smoothly. So everyone put your hands together like this. Bony fish swim with just their tail. These go, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. What do? We swim. With sharks, they want to use all the power that they can to be fast predators. So everyone put your hands back together like this. So sharks will swim with their whole body. Remember how moving our nose and bending our ears, we can bend all that cartilage? With bones, you can't bend them in half. With cartilage, they're very flexible. So the shark can use all the muscles in its body and move very smoothly. So it's very important for them. There are a couple more differences. So if you're in the ocean and you want to be able to tell if it's a bony fish or a cartilaginous fish, here's some ways you can tell. First step, look at their scales. So in a fish, you will have rounded scales. There's a couple different types of scales. Ctenoid scales, cycloid scales, which are these, and ganoid scales, kind of like armor, like a gar. They have these armored scales. But those scales, these rounded scales, mostly will come off in your hand. So if you're fishing and you're holding a fish, you're like, wow, what is this thing? And there's scales on your hand. It's mostly a bony fish. Let's talk about how they breathe. So fish, whenever you're looking at fish and your fish tank, they breathe like this, right? What they have over their gills is called an operculum. And this operculum allows them to open and close their gills so they can protect them. It's a bony covering on the outside. So if you see this operculum, this cover, if you see the fish, then that is a bony fish. Next is a bony skeleton. So if you're filleting a fish or you see it moving with just its tail, not with its whole body, you know that it has a bony skeleton. It can't move quite as smoothly. So bony skeleton. We also can look at the tail fin. So for fish, the top lobe and the bottom lobe of their tail is always going to be even. It's called a homosexual caudal fin. We call the tail fin the caudal fin because you waddle with your caudal, waddle with your caudal. So that's a good way you can remember it. So if the top lobe is even with the bottom lobe, it is a bony fish, osteoichthyes. So the swim bladder. If you are swimming in a pool and you want to float, what do? You hold your breath, you put your arms out, and you float, right? If you want to sink, you let all that air out of your lungs and you sink down to the bottom. Fish have a little bit of air in their swim bladder. Some fish even use their swim bladder to make noises. If you've ever in Galveston caught a piggy perch or a croaker, they'll make this like kind of, I'm gonna do it and it's gonna sound terrible, but that's okay, like this like noise. It kind of sounds like a pig or like a frog. It's pretty crazy. And they can use that swim bladder for vocalizations as well. But the swim bladder will only be in bony fish, and that's kind of what they do to regulate their buoyancy. Because fish, they don't want to be floating all the time. They don't want to be sinking all the time. They want to keep neutral buoyancy right in the middle of the water column so they can just keep swimming and have a happy little life. Now this one, the last thing, is fish lay eggs. Now, not all bony fish will just lay eggs, but for the vast majority of them, most of them will only lay eggs. So if you remember back to Finding Nemo, if you've ever watched it, they'll have all these eggs, and the mother fish will lay the eggs and then go swim off and live her little fishy life. But they are egg-laying animals. So those are what makes a bony fish a bony fish. Let's switch hats for a little bit. So our marine cartilaginous fish, our sharks, our stingrays, things that have a cartilaginous skeleton qualify as a marine cartilaginous fish. Class chondrichthyes, remember that, cartilaginous fish. So let's talk about some of the differences that make a shark, a marine cartilaginous fish. And marine means ocean or the water or sea. Cartilaginous means ocean, and of course we have our fish. So marine cartilaginous fish. If anyone ever asks you, what is a shark? You will say, a marine cartilaginous fish. Say with me, a marine cartilaginous fish. Brilliance, you are now a scientist. So one of the things that we can look for in in a shark to be able to see if it is indeed a shark is gill slits. A shark will have 5 to 7 gill slits depending on the species. So if you ever see exposed gills, no operculum covering, it's going to be a shark. Okay? Our cartilaginous skeleton, you can kind of see in this picture, there's nothing in this area of the shark at all. Sharks only have bone in their teeth and their jaw and their spine, their backbone, and in their scales. So the scales are also made of bone, which is really awesome for them. But they do have that cartilaginous skeleton that's pretty much all cartilage, so they can keep moving around and stay protected at the same time. So cartilaginous skeleton. The next is placoid scales. So these are also called dermal denticles. So plaque, what do you think of? I think of teeth. Dermal denticles, derm means skin, and dent means dentition. So it's the dermal denticles actually means little skin teeth, which is kind of funny. Scientists are really simple in how they name things. It's kind of easy. So placoid scales are little skin teeth. So if you look really closely at this picture, you can kind of see how they're almost shaped like teeth. They're very pointed, and they're all pointed facing backwards. So when you pet a shark from head to tail, it's very smooth. And when you go from tail to head, very rough, because you're catching on all these different points. And those are actually made out of bones as well. So one of the only things that will fossilize are those bony parts of the shark. The next is having an oily liver. Now, we're going to get to see more and learn more about this in the shark dissection, so make sure you go and watch that next. But the oily liver allows the shark to maintain that neutral buoyancy. So instead of using the swim bladder and having a little bit of air, it actually uses and traps a little bit of oil in their liver. And their liver is a huge part of their body, and it allows them to maintain neutral buoyancy, which lets them just keep swimming in their little happy shark lives. Okay? They also have what we call a heterosessile caudal fin. So remember, we waddle with our caudal, and we have a heterosessile, which means the top lobe is larger than the bottom lobe. So you'll always see a little bit of a difference, the top lobe bigger than the bottom lobe. In our adaptations video, you'll also get to see a bunch of really cool sharks that have different tail fins, and I want you to look at those tail fins and see how different they are. The great white shark and the mako shark probably have the closest to where it almost looks the same, but that top lobe is just a little bit longer than the bottom, so heterosessile caudal fin. And the very last one is 3 modes of reproduction. We'll get to go over more of this in the video of the shark dissection, but 3 modes of reproduction. Basically, a shark can lay eggs, have live birth, and create a yolk sac, and its uterus, and have the baby there. So it kind of can be complicated, but they lay egg, live birth, or a combination of having a yolk sac in their uterus and then birthing the baby live. So it's kind of crazy, but it's really awesome. Lets them be able to have babies basically any way that they possibly can to make them be able to survive. So that's how you can tell the difference between sharks and bony fish. Now, a shark is a fish, but a fish is not a shark. So it can get a little bit complicated in that sense, but we all know what they are now, and we can learn a little bit more about them as we go through Varsity Camp Connection this week. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Have a great day.